Welcome back to Module 4. In this module, we're going to discuss technology and innovation to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 on African MSMEs. So there are additional concepts of innovation. When we look at innovation, we define it as having new products and services, processes, organization changes, business improvements, and/or new business models. Now, in addition to the standard definition of innovation, we can also look at other concepts that are emerging that are focused on inclusiveness, extending benefits of innovation to marginalized groups, and also promoting informal innovation to include local communities. This includes pre, poor, and inclusive innovation, frugal innovation, grassroots innovation, and social innovation. This module digs deeper into what that means and how that helps you as an MSME navigate and mitigate the impacts of COVID-19. So when we look at mitigating the impacts of COVID-19, it's important to understand what are the African commodities. This includes tourism, remittance are likely to decline, and the open zone trade has also been pushed back. In fact, millions are likely to be pushed into extreme poverty when we're not leveraging and engaging in the realm of innovation. There was a study recently by COMESA which predicted few member states are likely to have positive post-COVID-19 impacts. These include Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Malawi, and Uganda. Now, the reason for this differs because of the country's industries. You see, while economic growth is expected to decline in countries that are likely resource intensive, like oil exporters and tourism dependent, non-resource intensive countries will be more resilient. While businesses such as airport transit, road transport are greatly affected, this study stipulates that financial services are more likely to be resilient due to digitalization. This includes the internet and the use of mobile banking, like mobile money. Furthermore, research has been done specifically on mobile money as a driver. Many of us use mobile money to transact. In fact, it has disrupted the financial industry where banks are now becoming more inclined to building similar technologies to support MSMEs access financial services as well as overcome barriers in entering the formal economy. The Oxford Business Group revealed that almost half of the businesses in Africa are significantly investing in technology and innovation. Governments and private sectors have come up with policies to support countrywide MSMEs to bounce back, to pivot, and to find new ways of doing business through innovative platforms like mobile money. These policies combined are estimated, and an estimated 50 billion from the World Bank is intended to protect and preserve African MSMEs. So what does the fintech look like? Financial technology. Well, there's an example of mobile money that is driving more and more formalization and helping to build resilience for MSMEs. In fact, MSMEs have been vulnerable to economic efforts of the pandemic in the areas of supply chain disruption, decreased capacity utilization, increased operation costs, as well as limited financial alternatives. So when we look at fintech, financial technology, some of the solutions they provide are enabling digital banking transactions. You know, as we're talking about this, think about your own usage. Think about how you've been using mobile money day to day, whether it's with personal or professional needs. It also facilitates convenient access to credit. You know, fintech provides MSMEs an electronic payment, which eliminates the need for cash. There's been a lot of funding on the continent. For example, the Central Bank of Kenya announced that it would waive fees for financial transfers via mobile banking. Safaricom in Kenya has also announced that user-to-user transactions under a certain amount would be free for 90 days and increase daily limit transactions for MSMEs. Some of these initiatives are helping MSMEs to enter into the financial space and engage more frequently. Other impacts of digital transactions include, but they're not limited to, reduced economic costs and increased access to funding options. So let's continue to look at examples that are transforming day-to-day lives because of innovation, even before COVID-19. You know, in Rwanda, there was a universal access to electricity by using technologies such as solar systems. In Guinea, we have the example of the two large hydropower plants and the world's first drone port, transporting essential supplies like medicine to people in remote and hard to reach areas. And in Nigeria, we have fertilizer vouchers provided to farmers through mobile phones and high quality seeds that can improve their harvest. So we've begun to hear technology in all and many industries, agri-tech, fintech, and so much more. So what does the future of digitalization look like on African MSMEs? Well, the digital shutdown due to COVID-19 not only accentuated and highlighted the importance of digital technology and innovation, but it was probably not as fully understood before. You see, the government mandated lockdowns and social distancing became a catalyst for the use of digital technology for virtual engagement in schools, remote learning, consumer shopping shifted during the pandemic, and the start of ICT investments greatly increased to support internet infrastructure that resulted in a widespread usage of ICT across Africa like never before. Now, this was made possible by economic liberalization policies back in 1980s. So we began to see the impact and the widespread usage of ICT years leading to COVID-19. Impact of such policies can be seen in significant increase in the number of mobile phone subscribers between 1998 and 2008. Africa has received several funding to boost ICT infrastructure, skills, as well as access to technology. And so in these charts, in these figures, we begin to see the venture breakdown, meaning the breakdown of investments that have been coming into various and specific categories and industries. As you can see, one of the top investors, venture investors, is computer software, then internet, and as you can see, e-commerce, and so on and so forth. So innovation and creativity have become the backbone for enterprise development. You know, existing domestic and international competitions, changing government regulations, and shifting market conditions require constant and creative innovation for businesses to continue to thrive. You must always be continually thinking, how do I innovate? How do I innovate? How do I become more creative? And so MSMEs can leverage opportunities connected to technology and innovation if they can. For example, make use of innovation hubs such as the one that we described in Kenya, but are now all across sub-Saharan Africa to grow your market, solve your problems, and help find investors. You also want to be in an environment that allows you not only to compete with domestic, but also international firms, so you know what competition looks like in the global marketplace. So there's an approach that I'm going to share to conclude this module, and it's called leveraging this S3 approach. This S3 approach is called the SMART Specialization Strategies. It's a larger scale experiment in innovation policy that started in 2011. It was conducted within the framework of the European Regional Cohesion Program and integrated into the European Union's reformed cohesion policy. S3 approach is aimed at reducing the socioeconomic disparities between their regions by having more efficient utilization of their funds for innovation. The S3 is based on concepts that aim to develop competitive advantages of a country or economy by matching their research and innovation assets. Again, their research and innovation assets to their economic challenges, needs, and capabilities. Even though the S3 approach originated from advanced Western European economies, it has attracted significant attention and success from other economies as well. And that's why we're discussing it today, because it's important to look at the benefits, the impact, the positive response to the S3 approach, and how MSMEs can also leverage it and why it's relevant. So there are key principles to consider for the S3 approach when we're looking at MSMEs. First is place-based approach. This strategy must be built on the assets and resources already available to MSMEs and their specific socioeconomic challenges within their locality or region in order to truly and properly identify opportunities for growth and development. The next important principle is the provisions for making investments. This means that focus must be given to the competitive strengths and growth potential. Lastly, the inclusion of all stakeholders, employment of bottom-up approach to participation. This means that MSMEs must be involved in an interactive process in discovering and producing information about their sector, which will in turn enable policymakers to come up with policies based on their identified key priorities, strengths, and needs. The S3 approach is all about ensuring and aligning the problem with the solution based on these three principles, three of the key principles in this approach. And that concludes module 4. Congratulations on completing this section, and we look forward to seeing you in the next module.